Good day to all. In my free book Simple Truths of Life and in my videos, I often mention the focus of attention that we can direct at either the outside world or at our inner world. In this video, I'll take a closer look at this topic. Focus of attention on the outside world. A person feels the complete clarity of his mind. At such a moment, he seems to remember all the events from his life, which allows him to calmly talk about everything. Such a state exists when a person is in harmony with his five senses, the data from which is automatically interpreted by the brain without the need for a person to concentrate on them. This state can also be described as the I am state. A person is relaxed and clearly feels his whole essence in the state, who he is, where he is, etc. Focus on the inner world. When staying in his world for a long time, a person may begin to feel in his mind a haze regarding reality. This is due to the fact that a person at such moments focuses his attention on one of the following: memories, fantasies, or reflections. When a person stays in himself, then the data coming from his five senses are as if muffled. The reason for the effect of haze in the head. And if the person goes too deep into his fantasies, then his thinking and mental image of some things in the world can become distorted. But these symptoms will go away if the person returns the focus of their attention back to the real world. An important note: attempts to concentrate on the outside world, attempts not to think about something, or special searches for something to focus attention on are also focusing attention on one's inner world. When people live here and now, they don't think that they don't need to think about something or not do something. They just live on automatism. Their actions are a consequence of the reality around them and not of their inner searches. This is important because I suspect many people with psychological problems may not understand this. Therefore, instead of trying to live in reality, such people need to live in reality. The golden mean. Everything in nature has a precise reason for existing. The problems come from the misuse of the tools and resources given to us. Accordingly, there are moments in life when it's worth focusing your attention on the outside world, when you cross the road, for example. And in other cases, you need to focus on your inner world, when you need to calculate something, for example. I will note the main idea that, in my opinion, a person never loses focus of attention. His attention is always focused on something. The question is what exactly it's focused on fantasies, reflections, memories, or on data coming from the real material world. I must sidestep and talk briefly about meditation, when you're in the state of I am, not being focused on anything. It could be said that the meditating person's attention is focused on nothing, focused on being relaxed. I should note that the word focus in this discussion doesn't mean being concentrated on something. You can be completely relaxed and focused simultaneously. Perhaps this is one of those situations where we have confusion about words and their meanings. One way or another, I believe that the basis of my opinions in this video should be close to the truth. Why can everything that exists in the universe have only two extremes with many variations in between? I talked about this in my free book, as well as in a video about what the universe is made of and about time. But in short, there is the imagination of the spirit and there is something from which the spirit created the universe. I believe that this is an infinite space. This space vibrates, and according to my current hypothesis, these vibrations are matter: protons, electrons, quarks, etc. As you know, vibration has two extremes and the middle point. A sinusoid has peaks and valleys as its two extremes, and the middle as its golden mean. Imagination and everything connected with it, for example, thoughts and reflections, is the inner world, and space and everything that was created from it is the outer world. What a person chooses to focus his attention on affects his life. For example, mental disorders are a sign that a person spends a lot of time in his world, for example, in the imagination. I remember reading about a famous mathematician who, I remember, went crazy thinking about numbers all the time. Now I understand that insanity is not such a terrible word, because under ideal conditions, all such people need to do to return to normal life is to focus their attention on the outside world, on what data comes to them from their five senses. To do this, you need to discipline yourself. Meditation and concentration can help with that. In the other extreme is aphantasia, when a person does not know how to use the imagination. For example, such a person cannot imagine a pink pigeon. By the way, I, a person with a very developed imagination, had a moment when I focused so much on reality that I realized what it was like to live with aphantasia, because at that time it was as if I had aphantasia myself. It is difficult to explain in words, but then I confirmed my opinions that people with aphantasia are more than able to learn how to use their imagination if they train themselves in this direction. Knowing that we are able to activate different regions of our brain can help here. You can learn more about this topic in my video on how to see auras. Memory is also subject to the focus of attention. Life is multifaceted, and this topic has many nuances. But for the sake of a simple example, I will say that if a person is focused on the outside world, he remembers things well. If a person, while reading or learning a new language, for example, thinks about something extraneous, such as how he wants a new computer, then the material he learns is unlikely to remain in his long-term memory. Both have been tested on myself. By the way, the haze also disappears with regard to memory, when a strongly imaginative person begins to focus on reality. Of course, this happens if the appropriate knowledge has been stored in his astral body. I often had cases when, after relaxing and calming down, I remembered many things, and sometimes I remembered the events of 20 years ago, as if they happened yesterday, or even today. I will also mention the expression to gain control, used by some psychologists about the process of eliminating mental problems in people with such problems. Loss of control for me would mean that a person has become like an outside observer, unable to influence his own life independently and meaningfully. Therefore, I believe that the expression to gain control is not entirely correct, since a person has never lost control. He simply shifted his focus of attention to activities that are erroneous and harmful. The state of mind that he has is the logical consequence of his own decisions and actions. All that person needs to do is realize his mistake, understanding that the consequences of his activity cause him suffering, and train himself to live in reality, focusing his attention on the data coming from all the senses. Of course, this may take time, which depends on many factors, but ideally it can be a day, and in rare cases a couple of seconds. Finally, I will note one nuance. There are 5 sense organs in the physical body, but a human being consists of 9 bodies. Some of those bodies also have their own receptors that receive data. For example, hallucinations and visions are, in my current opinion, the result not of the physical brain, but of one of the other bodies of the human being. In lucid dreams, we also have our own receptors that send data about the dream world to one of our bodies in which we exist in dreams. And only then all the data is shaped into a complete picture of sensory experience. In one such lucid dream, I was beginning to awaken, and then I focused my attention on the present moment, on what was the reality for me at that moment. I concentrated on the data that was going into my mind from my sight, hearing, and other feelings in that particular dream, and I wasn't waking up anymore. Of course, we are talking about the sense organs in the body that I had in that dream, and not about the sense organs of my physical body, which was sleeping at that moment in a quiet room. So, I'm talking about the 5 senses because usually people live in their physical body. And in this video, I don't want to confuse people with the little studied topics of the 9 bodies of human being and their roles. But for those who are interested in this topic, it's worth understanding that the focus of attention on the outside world is not limited to the receptors of the physical body. There are some kind of analogs of the sense organs of the physical body in other bodies of people. While astral projecting, people are also able to see and hear everything that happens around them. But these sensations are different from those that we experience in our physical bodies. During an astral projection, a person would focus on the data that entered his consciousness from his astral body, and not from his physical body. In fact, if a person would start to think about his physical body, he would begin to return to it. This process is similar to lucid dreams, when we can wake up if we focus our attention on our physical body. I know this from personal experience when I had my first lucid dream and realized that there could be monsters in it. Then I decided to see if I could wake up in case of encountering something or someone negative, to free myself from a bad dream, so to speak. And I did it. After a couple of seconds of thinking about my physical body, I really woke up. And as I said earlier, in another lucid dream it was the other way around. I started to slowly wake up when I accidentally began to think about my physical body. But I quickly became aware of what was happening and what I needed to do to stay in the dream for some more time. I simply focused on the reality of that dream surrounding me, and voila, my mind became very clear again in the reality of that dream. Thanks everyone for watching.